be discussing CT scan, also known as CAT scanning, which means computed axial tomography. CT scan combines a series of X-ray images taken from different angles and uses computer processing to create cross-sectional images of the bones, blood vessels, and soft tissues inside your body. CT scan image provides more detailed information than plain X-rays do. It was invented in 1972 by the British engineer Godfrey Hounsfield of EMI Laboratories in England and by South African-born physicist Alan Cormack of Tufts University, located in Massachusetts. Clinical CT scanners were installed between 1974 and 1976. The original systems were dedicated to head imaging only, but whole-body systems with larger patient openings became available in 1976. CT became widely available by about 1980, and now there are now about 6,000 CT scanners installed in the US alone and about 30,000 installed worldwide. First CT scanner developed by Hounsfield in his lab at EMI took several hours to acquire the raw data for single scan, or what you prefer it slice, and took days to reconstruct a single image from this raw data. The latest multi-slice CT system can collect up to 4 slices of data in about 150 milliseconds and reconstruct a 512 times 712 matrix image from millions of data points in less than a second. An entire chest, parentheses 40 millimeter slices, can be scanned in 5 to 10 seconds using the most advanced multi-slice CT system. During its 25th year history, CT has made great improvements in speed, patient comfort, and resolution. As CT scan times have gotten faster, more anatomy can be scanned in less time. Faster scanning helps to eliminate artifacts from patient motion, such as breathing or peristalsis. CT exams are now quicker and more patient-friendly than ever before. Tremendous research and development has been made to provide excellent image quality for diagnostic confidence at the lowest X-ray dose. CT scanner emits a series of narrow beams to the human body as it moves through an arc. The CT scanner's X-ray detector can see hundreds of different levels of density. It can see tissues within a solid organ. This data is transmitted to a computer, which builds up a 3D cross-sectional picture of the part of the body and displays it on the screen. For instance, if a 3D image of the abdomen is required, the patient may have to drink a barium meal. The barium appears white on the scan as it travels through the digestive system. If images lower down the body are required, such as the rectum, the patient may be given a barium enema. If blood vessel images are the target, the barium will be injected into the veins. Number one benefit is determining when surgeries are necessary. Second is reducing the need for exploratory surgeries. Third is improving cancer diagnosis and treatment. Fourth is reducing the length of hospitalizations. Fifth, guiding treatment of common conditions such as injury, cardiac disease, and stroke. Sixth is improving patient placement into appropriate areas of care such as intensive care units. Number one is radiation. Compared to other diagnostic tests, CT scan delivers a relatively high dose of radiation to the patient. While this is not usually a problem for a single scan, patients need to undergo repeated tests can be subjected to a significant level of radiation, increasing their cancer risk. Number two disadvantage is the allergic reaction. Patients who undergo CT scan receive a dose of what's known as contrast material containing iodine, or what I mentioned earlier is the barium meal. This allows specific areas of the body to be highlighted on the scan. While some people might be allergic to the reaction, this is the common side effect of CT scan patients complain of. Number three disadvantage is misinterpretations. Because a CT scan is so detailed, It can sometimes alert doctors to minor abnormalities in the body that don't have symptoms related to them and that in normal course of life would not have been caused the patient any problems. CT is based on the fundamental principle that density of the tissue passed by the X-ray beam can be measured from the calculation of attenuation coefficient. But what is attenuation coefficient? It is the volume of a material characterizes of how easily it can be penetrated by a beam of light, sound, particles, or other energy or matter. Using this principle, CT allows the reconstruction of the density of the body by two-dimensional section perpendicular to the axis of acquisition system. Unlike other medical imaging techniques such as conventional X-ray imaging, i.e. radiography, CT enables direct imaging and differentiation of soft tissue structures such as liver, lung tissue, and fat. CT is especially useful in searching for large space-occupying lesions, tumors, and metastases, and can not only reveal their presence, but also the size, spatial location, and the extent of a tumor. Due to short scan times of 500 milliseconds to a few seconds, CT can be used for all anatomic regions, including those susceptible to a patient's motion and breathing. For example, in the thorax, CT can be used for visualization of nodular structures, infiltrations of fluid, fibrosis, for example, from asbestos fibers, and effusions, or in layman's terms, filling of an airspace with fluid.
The biomedical image device that I'm going to discuss is the echocardiogram, or also known as ECG. It is a test that uses high-frequency sound waves to make pictures of your heart. The test is also called echocardiography or diagnostic cardiac ultrasound. So there are types of echocardiogram, and the first one is the transthoracic echocardiogram. This is the standard echocardiogram. It is a painless test similar to X-ray, but without the radiation. The second one is the transesophageal echocardiogram, or also known as TEE. This test requires that the transducer be inserted down to the throat and the esophagus, swallowing the tube that connects to the mouth into the stomach. And the third one is the stress echocardiogram. This is an echocardiogram that is performed while the person exercises on a treadmill or stationary bicycle. The fourth one is the dopamine stress echocardiogram. This is another form of stress echocardiogram. However, instead of exercising to stress the heart, the stress is obtained by giving the drug that stimulates the heart and makes it think that it is exercising. The fifth one and the last one is the intravascular ultrasound, which is also known as the intravascular echocardiogram. This is an ultrasound performed during cardiac catheterization. During the procedure, the transducer is threaded into the heart blood vessels via catheter in the part of the heart. So here is how the echocardiogram or ECG works. It uses sound waves to create pictures of your heart and the size and thickness and movement of your heart's walls. A probe called transducer is passed over your chest. The probe produces sound waves that bounces off your heart and echo back to the probe. These waves are changed into the pictures viewed on the video monitor. So here are the applications of the echocardiogram or ECG. It detects the size and shape of your heart and the thickness and movements of your heart, how your heart moves, the heart's pumping strength, if the heart valves are working correctly, if the blood is leaking backwards through your heart valves, which is called regurgitation, and if the heart valves are too narrow, there is a tumor or infections growth around your heart valves. Problems with the outer lining of your heart, which is the pericardium. Problems with large blood vessels that enter and leave the heart. Blood clots in the chambers of your heart, and abnormal holes between the chambers of the heart. Those are the things that the echocardiogram can detect.
I will be discussing about nuclear medicine. Nuclear medicine is a branch of medical imaging that uses small amounts of radioactive material to diagnose and determine the severity of or treat a variety of diseases, including many types of cancers, heart disease, gastrointestinal, endocrine, neurological disorders, and other abnormalities within the body. It is a medical specialty that involves giving a patient a small amount of radioactive medication called a radiopharmaceutical. This makes the body slightly radioactive for a short time. Nuclear medicine can also be used to treat some diseases or conditions. In these cases, the amount of radiopharmaceutical given is much greater, and it mostly goes to the deceased or abnormal organ. The type of radiopharmaceutical given usually emits ionizing radiation that has the maximum effect on the part of body or organ system being treated. Nuclear medicine studies were first performed in the 1950s using special devices called gamma cameras. In 1930, Ernest Lawrence built the first cyclotron, which was only 4 inches in diameter. It involved 2D-shaped magnets, which created a circular magnetic field with a small gap between them. The alternating electric field accelerated the particles and causing the radius of the circular path to increase until it hit the target. The nuclear medicine image can either be in grayscale, for instance in a bone scan, or they can be color-coded to clearly show functional activity, like in a cardiac study. The technologist positions the patient and begins a dual-head nuclear medicine examination. Devices above and below the patient are the dual gamma cameras, and each contains a scintillation crystal and other image acquisition electronics. In an X-ray or CT examination, the radiation comes out of the X-ray or CT system and then passes through the patient's body before being detected and recorded onto film or by a computer. Nuclear medicine uses the opposite approach. A radioactive material is introduced into the patient and is then detected by a machine called gamma camera. The radiation which is emitted by the body during nuclear medicine imaging are gamma rays. These gamma rays are similar to X-rays but have a shorter wavelength. A special nuclear medicine camera detects the radiation, which is emitted from the body, and takes images or pictures of how the inside of the body is working. Many different organs can be imaged depending on the type of radioactive medication used. The underlying principles of nuclear medicine imaging involve the use of unsealed sources of radioactivity in the form of radiopharmaceuticals. The ionizing radiations that accompany decay of the administered radioactivity can be detected, measured, and imaged in vivo with instruments such as gamma cameras. These paper reviews the design and operating principles, as well as the capabilities and limitations of instruments used clinically and preclinically for in vivo radionuclide imaging. These include gamma cameras, single-photon emission computed tomography scanners, and positron emission tomography scanners. The technical basis of autoradiography is reviewed as well.
Magnetic resonance imaging is a medical imaging technique used in radiology to form pictures of the anatomy and the physiology processes of the body in both health and disease. MRI scanners use strong magnetic fields, electric field gradients, and radio waves to generate images of the organs in the body. MRI does not involve X-rays and use of ionizing radiation, which distinguishes it from CT or CT scans. Brief history of MRI is that MRI is used industrially mainly for routine analysis of chemicals. The nuclear magnetic resonance technique is also used, for example, to measure the ratio between water and fat in foods, monitoring of flow of corrosive fluids in pipes, or to study molecular structures such as catalysts. The MRI system uses injectable contrast or dyes to alter the local magnetic field in the tissue being examined. Normal and abnormal tissues respond differently to this light alteration, giving us different signals. These signals are transformed to images. An MRI system can display more than 250 shades of gray to depict the varying tissue. The principle of MRI is that it is known that over 70% of humans' body was made up by water molecules, of which each contains 2 hydrogen nuclei or protons. That means almost every human organs and tissue contain a large number of water molecules. Meanwhile, the scientists have found out that the magnetic moment of some protons in water aligns with the direction of the field when it was being placed inside a strong magnetic field. This raised possibility that this phenomenon can be used to develop a new and advanced medical imaging technology, and that is why MRI was invented. Of course, to get the imaging of human's body, other devices and technologies should also be used. Medical field, MRI technology is applied to detect tissues which have pathological trends, for example, tumors. By using this technology, normal tissues and pathological tissues can be distinguished easily because MRI has better contrast resolution, or the ability to distinguish the differences between 2 arbitrarily similar but not identical tissues than CT. One other important reason why MRI is used that, not like CT scans and traditional X-ray, MRI uses strong magnetic fields and non-ionizing radiation, and there are no solid evidence that can prove this technology can bring any damage to humans' health. There are 2 different kinds of MRI scans: basic MRI scans and specialized MRI scans. The basic MRI has 4 kinds of different weights: T1 weighted, T2 weighted, and T raised to the power of 2 weighted, and spin density MRI.
Medical imaging device that I'm gonna discuss is all about ultrasound. Ultrasound is sound waves with frequencies higher than the upper audible limit of human hearing. Ultrasound is no different from normal sound in its physical properties, except in that human cannot hear it. This limit varies from person to person and is approximately 20 kHz or 20,000 Hz in healthy young adults. Ultrasound devices operate with frequencies from 20 kHz up to several gigahertz. Ultrasound is used in many different fields. Ultrasonic devices are used to detect objects, measure distances. Ultrasound imaging or sonography is often used in medicine. In non-destructive testing of products and structures, ultrasound is used to detect invisible flaws. Ultrasound is a non-invasive diagnostic medical technique that uses high-frequency sound waves to produce image of the internal structure of the body. These sound waves are not detectable by human hearing. Using an ultrasound machine, a technician or doctor moves a device called a transducer over part of your body. The transducer emits sound waves which bounce off the internal tissues and creates image from the waves that bounce back. Different densities of tissues, fluid, and air inside the body produce different image that can be interpreted by a physician. Typically, radiologists, many studies are done by a trained technologists and then interpreted by radiologists. Acoustics, the science of sound, starts as far back as Pythagoras in the 6th century BC, who wrote on the mathematical properties of string instruments. Echolations in bats was discovered by Lazarus Planazzi in 1794, when he demonstrated the bats hunted and navigated by inaudible sound and not vision. Francis Galton in 1893, invented the Galton whistle, an adjustable whistle which produced ultrasound, which he used to measure the hearing range of human and other animals, demonstrating that many animals could hear sound above the hearing range of humans. The first technological application of ultrasound was an attempt to detect submarines by Paul Lavengie in 1917. The piezoelectric effect was discovered by Jacques and Pierre Curie in 1880. Was useful in transducers to generate and detect ultrasonic waves in air and water. It is a medical imaging technique that uses high-frequency sound waves and their echoes. The technique is similar to the echolation used by bats, whales, and dolphins, as well as sonar used by submarines. Pulse of ultrasound. Medical ultrasound is based on the use of high-frequency sound to aid in the diagnosis and treatment of patients. The ultrasound frequencies range from 2 approximately 5 MHz, although even higher frequencies may be used in some situations. The ultrasound beam originates from mechanical isolations of numerous crystals in a transducers, which is excited by electrical pulses. The transducers converts one type of energy into another. Ultrasound waves are sent from the transducers, propagated through different tissues, and then to the transducers as reflected echoes. The returned echoes are converted back into electrical impulses by the transducer's crystals and are further processed to form the ultrasound image and presented on the screen. Here are some applications of ultrasound. First, it measures the size of the fetus to determine the due date. Second, it determines the position of the fetus to see if it's in normal head-down position or breech. Third, it checks the position of the placenta to see if it is improperly developing over the opening of the uterus. Fourth, it sees the number of fetuses in the uterus. Fifth, it checks the sex of the baby. Sixth, it checks the fetus growth rate by making many measurements over time. Seventh, it detects ectopic pregnancy. It is a life-threatening situation in which the baby is implanted in the mother's fallopian tube instead of in the uterus. 8. It determines whether there is an improper amount of amniotic fluid crushing the baby.